Yo, what's up? It's your boy Dynast. At the end of this video, make sure you go to www.dynastfree.com. Check out our indigenous African art, jewelry, fashion, and accessories. Also go to searchforhuru.com. Learn more information on the documentary we're shooting. Well, documentaries also contribute towards the documentaries that we're shooting. Last but not least, go to amazon.com, search your name Dynast Amir, buy a book. I wrote it myself, so please support and buy one. Wanted to shoot this video on and wanted to, this is one of my Dear Africans or Dear Africa videos, and let them know and warn them to not allow the West to define who and what a dictator is to them or for them. Reason why, I just find it weird whenever a so-called dictator, African dictator, gets taken out, the country that African dictator once ruled always becomes worse off. Example, Libya with Muammar Gaddafi. We even can say Congo with Mobutu. Next in line is going to be Gambia with, I don't want to butcher his name, Yahya Jammeh, I believe that's how you pronounce his name, who lost an election but was, known as or described as a dictator by the West. And now Adama Barrow, I think that's how you pronounce his name, Adama Barrow is now the new president, who he won the presidency. But we have to take this into consideration. Again, whenever a so-called dictator that's labeled a dictator by the West is removed from the country, or not even really removed. I mean, Yahya Jammeh, he lost the election, fair and square, refused to move, or refused to leave his seat as president, the office as president, in Gambia. But before that, he was known as or labeled as a dictator by the West. So now that this dictator is gone and Adama Barrow is in office, watch what happens to Gambia. I'm willing to bet that their situation is going to be worse off. And part of the reason why I know the situation is going to be worse off is because Gambia is already, or the European Union has reinstated aid to Gambia to make Gambia a better country. We all know what aid has done for Africa. That's absolutely nothing. In fact, countries that have been receiving aid have been worse off. So now that Gambia is receiving aid again, I can't be optimistic about the future of Gambia, because we all know what it means by when any African nation receives aid, they become worse off. So again, do not allow the West to dictate who is a dictator, because that gives them a reason to come in and for them to become dictators. So the West will send in their puppets into these countries and vicariously rule and use these leaders as a proxy to be dictators. So now that the European Union has started giving Gambia more aid, watch the European Union and the West become the dictators of Gambia. Because if you really think that in 2017 that the Europe and the West are going to serve in the best interests of Africa, you are delusion. I got a guy in here arguing that France operates in the best interest of African countries. Really? Really? So again, Africans, do not allow the West to dictate who's a dictator to you, because that gives them an excuse for when that dictator leaves or is forcibly removed to even treat that country worse, or for them to become the dictators. Now, there are exceptions to the rules. Thomas Bly's Burkina Faso, he's an exception. There are definitely exceptions. But if you notice, In fact, here we go. If you notice, when Thomas Blythe was removed, the West didn't come after him. Why? Because the West, they're the ones that put Thomas Blythe into power as a dictator. And I don't think the West, in fact, I take that back. Thomas Blythe wasn't a dictator. To the West, he wasn't labeled as a dictator. So I take that back. So now us Africans knew that Thomas Blythe was a dictator, but I forgot, the West never labeled Thomas Blythe as a dictator. So again, do not allow the West to label your leaders as a dictator, because when they label them as a dictator, it gives them an excuse for them to become, it gives the West an excuse for the West to become the dictators of that country through foreign aid, you know, their puppet leaders, and all that other crap that they do. You know how the West gets down when it comes to Africa. And again, I'm sorry, Thomas Blythe was not recognized or labeled as a dictator by the West, because Thomas Blythe was one of the puppets that were put in power by the West to serve the best interests of the West after he played his role in murdering Thomas Sankara. So yeah, Africans, once again, do not allow the West to dictate who a dictator is or label who a dictator is, because them themselves, the West, become the dictators once they do that. Once that so-called dictator is removed, like Muammar Gaddafi, your boy in Gambia, Yahya Jammeh, and then of course Mobutu, the West comes in, exploits that, and then themselves become the dictators, because it's all a game. Or they put in people like Blythe. So again, do not allow the West to dictate who a dictator is or label your leaders as dictators. You guys do that. Follow me on social media. Search for Uhuru on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat. Dynasty Samir. Till next time, I'm out.